Alright, the next sections are why write about homosexuality and is CARM homophobic. I'd like to start with the is CARM homophobic and then see if this actually is true. So I'll just read it without any commentary. Is CARM homophobic by Matt Slick? No, CARM is not homophobic. We don't fear homosexuals. For the most part, they are productive and helpful people in society. We are no more homophobic than they are heterophobic. Rather, CARM recognizes the moral and social implications of the homosexual agenda that seeks to move into all areas of society and redefine morals in a manner consistent with the homosexual agenda. What is this agenda? It is to make homosexuality an accepted lifestyle in society, to have it be considered a normal and healthy lifestyle, a legitimate marriage choice, and a morally sound option among all people. To this, CARM stands in opposition because the Bible clearly says that homosexuality is a sin. Leviticus, 18:22, 20:13, 1 Corinthians 6:9 through 10, Romans 1:26 through 28. Therefore, we exercise our right to express our religious views, defend what the Bible teaches, and expose the spiritual, physical, and emotional harm that homosexuality poses. Furthermore, we reject the label being homophobic, see the battle over words, since it's a negative term designed to bring dispersion and emotional commendation upon those who it's applied. We're not homophobic. We are pro-traditional marriage, and we are pro-traditional sexual practice between a man and a woman. It is the homosexual community that wants to redefine proper sexual conduct and marriage definitions. So, to be fair, we could easily say that the pro-homosexual movement is heterophobic and or Christophobic. Words mean things. Oh, it was so hard to not comment on that. It really was. Because I have a lot of issues with everything said there. But let's just see if CARM is not homophobic. Now, before I get too far, it seems like Matt Slick doesn't really know what homophobic means. He thinks that it's fear. So, given that assumption, I'm going to go with, is CARM, or Matt Slick, afraid of homosexuality? And I think the answer is going to become very, very apparent very soon. Let's go to that first section here. Why write about homosexuality? I can answer that question. It's in the Bible. That's why. If it wasn't in the Bible, you wouldn't be writing about it. By Matt Slick. We need to write about homosexuality because it's addressed in the Bible. See? Told you. It's a moral issue. It's a moral issue within the confines of the Bible. And it affects the society. Therefore, it also affects religious and social institutions. Again, religion is protected both internally, and laws protect it externally as well. Social institutions, I'm not sure what he's talking about here, but whatever. As the influence of homosexuality increases, it will continue to invade our churches, our homes, and our families. And it will affect change around us. Oh no. Not change, anything but change. Therefore, we need to have rational... Sorry, the idea that Matt would have anything rational to say is funny to me. And biblical defenses for the Christian position, as well as an examination of the problem... the problems that homosexuality brings. It's hard to get through this without laughing. What problems? What? Some example. What? What are they? Okay, whatever. The Bible clearly condemns homosexuality as a sin, and Christians who seriously follow God's word must also condemn it as sin. Nice little no true Christian slipped in there. Now, Matt, if you listen to his talk with Matt Dillahunty, Matt Slick has zero problem committing the no true Scotsman fallacy, which we're going to call the no true Christian fallacy, and even saying, I have done my life's work on who a real Christian is, the no true Christian. I have no problem talking about that. So he's fine with the logical fallacy that you're not a true Christian, or in this case, you're not somebody that's serious about following the Bible if you don't do exactly what Matt Slick wants you to. It's just so interesting that everything has to be his way. There's no medium ground. There's no middle ground. There's no gray areas. It's Matt Slick is right. The Bible doesn't actually talk about homosexuality, and the link to the playlist below, if you want to go check that out, I strongly recommend you check that out. It goes into detail with all the different Bible verses that say homosexuality and tells you what they really say, and demonstrates using theology that would be something I think would be of interest to Christians, that the word homosexuality and the idea of what we have as homosexuality today isn't in the Bible, nor is transgender issues in the Bible, or hermaphrodites. They're not in the Bible. The reason, because they weren't aware of these people, these conditions, these groups, whatever you want to call it. The way that people are was very much standardized, and if you deviated from the norm, you were probably killed in a horrific fashion. So if you deviated from the norm, you kept to yourself and you were quiet about it. So he's going to have us consider a few Bible verses. 1, 2, 3, 4 Bible verses. Well, just 4. Leviticus again, 1 Corinthians, and Romans 1. I'm not even going to bother with reading them. It's dealt with on the playlist, I'm sure. And I don't really care what it says, because this is circular reasoning. Now, if you're a Christian, you care what it says. But do you care what it really says, or do you care what Matt Slick thinks it says? I would hope that you care what it really says. Homosexuals want others in society to accept them as normal people with normal sexual patterns. What? Why wouldn't we? They are normal people. They do have normal sexual patterns. This is just completely coming out your own rear end, really. There's the bell curve, I'll grant you that. And if we're going to have a bell curve of sexuality, what is normal? We probably really couldn't grade that, I hate to cite the Kinsey report, because there was problems with it. Maybe somebody will come along and do a better Kinsey report at some point, or maybe it's already been done and I'm not aware of it. But nonetheless, what is normal? Is missionary style the only way to go when it comes to sex? Is it just that sex is purely for baby creating and not for joy or pleasure? I mean, there are some Bible thumping wingnuts out there. Oh, not Bible thumping wingnut, just idiots that are thumping their Bible saying that, sex is just for babies, nothing else. And this is not something that other people would agree with. I would guess that Slick enjoys having sex with his wife if he's still married. And I would guess that it's probably not done for creating children. It's just done for the joy of the intimacy. As far as the bell curve goes, I mean, how would you define that? You'd have to get a poll of all of America to say what is in the upper zone. And even then, you couldn't call it normal. You could just call it average. So they're working hard to change moral, social, and political opinion to be more in line with what they want. No, they're working hard to get equal rights. Why is that bad? See, what Matt Slick seems to want here is a world where one can be a homosexual, but they have to stay in the closet. They can't go around promoting that. They can't ask for any change at all. They can't expect to be allowed to be married or have any equal rights at all. They are not content to be by themselves. See what I mean? I want somebody, if you can draw a comic with Matt Slick shoving homosexuals back into a closet saying, "Stop oppressing my religion," And then the next panel should be him hammering the door shut with crosses. "Oh, those homosexuals, they keep persecuting me. They want to change everything." Therefore, it's necessary to write about something that can so drastically affect the moral fabric of this country. What? The moral fabric of this country is shot to all get-go anyway. So there is no moral fabric to this country. That's an illusion, first of all. There is no consensus on what the morals are. And there are the laws represent not morality, but instead represent what's beneficial for society. At least they're supposed to reflect that. Sometimes the laws don't do that. But the laws also need to be in line with having the most equality for the most amount of people, which they don't, which is why the homosexual community is fighting against that, and for no other reason. It's not like they're trying to change anything more than that these laws are unfair. They're unjust laws. If you want to still consider them sinful and wrong, nobody's stopping you from doing that. Morals and ethics are a separate topic than the legal system, because the legal system has to be one that represents all of the people. That's part of what our Constitution was aiming for, and we're still not there today. We're not treating people as equals, and that's a bad thing legally speaking. Morals and ethics, you can claim that something is morally wrong or ethically wrong, but you can't make that illegal unless you can show that there is significant harm being done to everything else, which is, I guess, what Slick is trying so hard to do here, but he utterly fails to make that presentation because he doesn't have any research at all. But I just want to see for fun, what would happen if we reducto ad absurdum this? Matt Slick wants others in society to accept the status quo as it has been for years. He wants people to reject the idea that homosexuals have normal sexual behavior patterns or that they are normal people. Matt Slick is working hard to keep moral, social, and political opinions to stay in line with what he agrees with. He is not content to leave it alone. He wants the change to stop. Matt Slick wants others to accept his philosophic, moral, and ideological ideas as being valid and true. He wants to change the opinions of people who don't agree with him. In short, Matt Slick wants to change society. Therefore, it's necessary to speak out against Matt Slick because he could harm and change the minds of people and prevent change from occurring in this society. Wow. Reductio ad absurdum really points out how this argument could really go both ways, doesn't it? Does Matt Slick sound intolerant, or is it just me? This fear, and that's what it is, of change, really, I don't see how anyone could see that not being afraid. The homosexuals are gonna change everything. Oh no, everything is gonna be changed. The moral fabric that doesn't really exist of society is gonna crumble if they have their way. Unless I stand up and fight the good fight, they're gonna ruin everything. I don't know how they're gonna ruin everything, but darn it, I'm gonna stand up and fight the good fight. But you're just in an echoing chamber, and the only person listening to you is yourself. And unfortunately, your sheeple also are listening to you because they're promoting the same stupid ideas that you are. But nonetheless, remember the other section. Is CARM homophobic, or I'll just say, is Matt Slick homophobic? Because CARM isn't really a thing. It's a website. It can't be homophobic. But anyways, yeah, if you're just talking about fear in and of itself, when you see things like that they have an agenda, they are gonna change things, they're gonna make things horrible. That's fear speaking. That's not logic speaking. That's fear speaking. He's afraid that things are going to change. He doesn't want things to change. That's clear to me. That from the reductio ad absurdum, that if we reverse everything around, we put in Matt Slick's name instead of the homosexual agenda, we can see that he doesn't want things to change. It's so simplistic. So yes, Carm is homophobic in that Matt Slick is homophobic. And he is homophobic because he thinks that the Bible promotes that position, and he thinks that the Bible promotes that position because that's the traditional stance to take on the Bible. It's not the more well refined and well thought out stance that some churches, very few churches, are now starting to take on the Bible. Now, even the gay church, as it's come to be known in San Francisco, doesn't have their theology right quite yet. They just go, it's okay to be gay. I mean, that's really their only thing that they say. They talk about the verses, but they don't talk about what the verses really mean. So even they are kind of affected by this idea that the English translations are fine. Even Matt Slick admitted to me, and when I talked to him, that the Bible isn't inerrant, it's not perfect as written. So there can be errors. So who's to say that the verses he's quoting aren't in error, at least in English? But maybe if we went back to the original language and find out what it really says, we'd find out that the translation is just plain wrong. But see, that would be taking a stance for change in society, not the traditional church values that Matt Slick likes and is used to, but new values that would hurt Matt Slick's version of how the church is meant to be in some way, shape, or form, at least in his mind, if not in reality. The more the homosexual agenda gains power, the more we are all affected. Appeal to fear. If a public school has a pro-homosexual agenda taught to my children, I'm robbed of my parental right to have my child not be taught that it's morally okay. You're not ever robbed of your rights as a parent to teach your kids whatever you want at home, to homeschool them. There's, of course, paid for private schools. There's tons of religious schools, some of which you have to pay for out of the pocket, some of which that are free, that you could send your kids to. But Matt Slick's kids are all grown up, so this isn't even an issue for Matt Slick. What he's trying to do is appeal to the fear of the parents that are potentially out there reading this. Oh, do you want your kids taught that it's okay? No, we don't want it taught okay. You know? I could only imagine if this had been written in the 1950s that this might be saying, oh, this women's movement, man, that's a really bad thing. Or if it had been written earlier, oh, this whole segregation thing, this is great. Oh, we got to stop the ones that want to change this. You know, or even earlier on, had this been written, oh, that slave stuff, that's great. We got to promote that because it's in the Bible. We can't have people trying to change that. You know, I just can imagine that very easily being what was written had it been written in the past. But, you know, Matt Slick has seen the tides of change. He was born into a society where women's rights are active. He was born into a society where the segregation isn't a thing anymore. Although how we treat the darker skinned community as white people is still bad and wrong and not equal yet, but we are getting slightly smarter about it and slightly better about it. The treatment of women is getting slightly better, and people have to fight long and hard for equality. And the people that are in power, which is mostly white men, don't want to give up that power. And Matt Slick's a white man who doesn't want to give up his position of power that he has. Because allowing the homosexuals to have more freedom means that his power diminishes slightly, doesn't it? The more freedom that there is, the less that his ideas are relevant in society. And he doesn't want that. But anyways, you're not going to be robbed of that thing. And if a school wants to teach that homosexuality is okay, oh well, that's we can't say no to that because it is okay. What they can't do is teach you to be a homosexual. That's there are lines. Anyways, okay. If I want to rent a room in my own house to someone, this is going to be great. The homosexual lobbyist might very well work against me because I want to show discretion based on sexual orientation. Really? So you are homophobic then? You don't want a gay person in your house? That means my children in my own home could be forced to be around immoral behavior which I consider to be wrong and even dangerous, as health statistics point out. For now, at least, I can reject pedophiles as renters, but who knows how much longer that will be the case. Bum bum bum. And slippery slope fallacy has showed its ugly head. Renters cannot discriminate against a lot of things. Race, religion, sexual preference. There are a few things that they're protected from, like drug usage or other illegal activities. But there is no way that you're going to get a law that allows you to discriminate against renting to people based on sexual orientation, or for that matter, religious orientation, because if we're to go with this to its logical end, Matt Slick obviously doesn't like atheists. He wouldn't want an atheist in his house because his kids that are all grown up and can no longer be affected, so his hypothetical kids that he doesn't have would be exposed to the atheist ideas that he disagrees with, right? What if somebody was a woman's activist, a feminist, and he didn't agree with all of their positions? I don't want that person in my... I mean, where does that end? It doesn't end, because then anyone anywhere can say, no, I'm not going to rent to you because fill in the blank. Some knee-jerk reason that is not in line with how we want our society to be run. As far as the disgusting slippery slope that Matt Slick uses of pedophilism, it's interesting that he would even think that could ever change. It can't. Perhaps it will get better of how we deal with this. Pedophiles that have done something, whether it's look at something or actually touch someone inappropriately, are branded with the scarlet letter over their head on the internet for the rest of their life. I don't know that that's justice. I don't know if that actually works. But nonetheless, they are not allowed in certain cities and states to live in certain areas. More to the point, almost every state that I'm aware of, if not all states, wouldn't allow a known pedophile to live in your house if you have kids. That's just not allowed for them to do. You might be allowed to rent out the place. I don't even think that you actually would be allowed to rent out the place because of the restrictions on them. I don't know. But you're protected under law, and that's never going to change. Unless we, as a society, figure out better ways to deal with this this thing that some humans have. if there was a way to turn off that part in the brain or something. I don't know. But it's ridiculous as the slippery slope goes. Christians are increasingly being penalized for their views on homosexual issues. For example, consider the following. This is really written here, guys and gals and others. I kid you not. Okay. Roman Catholic orphanages have been threatened with legal action if they don't accept homosexual couples when considering adoption. Oh no! So just to clarify, just to put this in context here, we just finished talking about pedophiles, and now we're gonna mention the Catholic Church. Is that really a smart idea? I'm just saying. Okay, I don't care. They can't deny adoption of kids. There are do you even know how many kids there are waiting to be adopted? Matt's like, have you ever adopted? Are you able to adopt? You have to have the right amount of money, the right age. There's a lot of things that you have to jump through a ton of hoops to be able to adopt, and there's so many kids out there. Do you have any idea how many kids need a family? Whether it be the traditional quote-unquote family, or a heterosexual couple, or even a single parent, which some people had to fight for that too. These kids, and sometimes babies and sometimes teenagers, need somebody to step up and say, I'll do that. I'll spend my time and energy trying to help this person to be the best person that they can be. So, good. I'm glad that there are legal stuff trying to change how people look at the adoption agency. And really, it's not uniform across the board, and I think it should be. It should be, you got to adopt to this. Here's the standard, period. You can't not do that. End of story, period. Only, and maybe the adoption center should only be run by the state. But the thing is, the reason why there are now non-state, non-government agencies is because there's so many freaking kids. Okay. But, no, don't adopt them out because they're going to go to homosexual parents, and homosexuality is a sin. Screw you, Matt Slick. In Colorado, pro-homosexual laws are threatening churches. No, they're not. This is ridiculous. Listen very carefully here. The law provides an exception allowing religious groups to continue teaching inside their doors the Bible's commendation of homosexuality. Let me just read that one more time. The law provides an exception allowing religious groups to continue teaching inside their doors the Bible's condemnation of homosexuality. Then he says, think about it. Allowing religious people to preach what they believe according to the Bible? This law protects your churches in Colorado. Now, I don't know the full story here. I haven't clicked on any of the reference links. Oh my word, he gives reference links for every single one of these. I can't breathe. Okay, I'm okay. Wow, I almost was shocked to death there. So, I haven't read those. So I'm just going out on a limb here, and I'm going to guess that hate speech in Colorado, there was some sort of law created against hate speech, and being anti-homosexual was part of that hate speech, or considered part of that hate speech. So they had to then go and make a law to make sure that the religious institutions would be exception to that law as long as they were inside their churches. That they couldn't go outside to say this stuff, but they could say it inside their church all they wanted. Okay? That's a protection, not a discrimination. If this was a pro-homosexual law, which is not, it would say you're not allowed to teach anti-homosexual anything, anywhere, ever. And if we catch you doing it, you're spending a fine or going to jail or a combination thereof. This is a anti-homosexual law. This is a law to protect the church from having to change their evil, nasty, vile ways to be more in line with everyone else in society. Okay? This is the exact opposite of an example to use for your idea. Okay. So, I guess he's trying to make this say, oh, we're now being allowed to teach. See, we're not being allowed to teach. So what's next? They're gonna not let us teach? See, so that's kind of, I guess, where he's going with that. It's such a hard reach to make, and I really don't think that his people are smart enough to get that. So, but it's okay. I don't even think that his people would have gotten to this point. They would say, oh yeah, homosexuality's bad. I agree. It's like that. You know, they didn't need to read all of this to agree with him, you know. Alright, anyways, in Canada, a human rights tribunal ordered a Christian pastor to renounce his faith and never again express moral opposition against homosexuality. I had to add in against because it just says moral opposition homosexuality in that particular quote there. Okay, I have no idea what that's about. I'd have to go look at the full story. But I would say this. Who cares about Canada? Earlier in this article, you're talking about America and the moral fabric of this country, not everywhere else. So, why would you use something that's going on in Canada as an example? That's like saying, oh, look, in Mexico, the legal age is like 14 to marry. Look at that. Look at how bad that is. That's the moral fabric of America. What? It doesn't make any... It's non sequitur. Okay? Alright, hey, moving back. And so what? I mean, I didn't know that a tribunal could do that, and I don't think that the pastor would have to do that. I mean, he could be like, no, I'm not going to do that. You know, who are you? Whatever. A Florida teacher... Here we go. This is the best one, I think. A Florida teacher was suspended for posting anti-gay views on marriage on his Facebook page. That was his personal comment made on his personal time, on his personal computer, in his personal house. I guess voicing your personal opinion isn't okay with the homosexual agenda. Dun dun dun. No, Matt Slick, because that isn't the homosexual agenda. That's the school district making a decision based upon a complaint of one or more parents, or maybe the homosexual agenda. There might be LGBT group found out about this and launched a complaint to the school district or something. But nonetheless, this is the school district saying, this teacher has posted this thing on their Facebook, and that's gonna get all sorts of negative press to our school. Let's put them on leave and suspend them for a time. It doesn't say, was he suspended without pay? Was he fired completely? I don't know. But here's the thing. Let's take that whole little bit at the end there. His personal time, his personal computer, his personal house, his personal Facebook. It doesn't matter because it's in the public eye. If he didn't want anyone to see it, then he should have put it on only friends can see this mode, which you can do on Facebook. And so only people that are your friends can see it. But even then, if one of those people happens to be a parent that has a kid in the school and says, you know what, I know this person's a teacher at the school and I don't like that they have this view because then they might espouse this view in the classroom. They might not, but I'm worried about this. If this guy had posted, using this, I don't have enough quotes in the world, quote, logical idea, end quote, that Matt Slick has, you can post anything you want on your social media, right? Because it's his personal house, his personal time, his personal Facebook, etc. Well, does that mean that this guy, as a teacher, could post, I hate my entire class and I want to kill them all? Could he post that and have no repercussions from that? Could he post, I really wish that those darn laws didn't exist so I could molest all my students? Could he post that on his Facebook and get zero repercussions from the school district? Could he post racist or pro-Nazi, neo-Nazi ideas on his Facebook and face no repercussions for that? Where does that line end? Where would you, Matt Slick, draw that line? You only draw it, it seems, when it favors your ideas and your ideology, your faith, your religion. Then you draw the line. No, you can't do that. That's impinging on that teacher's freedom to post what they want. But the moment that he did something that you actually disagreed with, you'd be all over it. You'd be like, suspend this person. What if he posted, I'm an atheist, on his Facebook and got suspended for that? You'd be like, yeah, woo, we're winning. So this is an example of this agenda that exists. This is an example of social media and people being taken to task for what they do on open social media. And this is a big issue that people are debating in even Supreme Court now. This has gone to trial. That is what you say on social media something that you can be held accountable for? And I think yes, because everyone anywhere can see it unless you put it in super hidden private mode. And it doesn't matter that it's your free time and your computer. If you put it online, then it's going to be subject to the rules that society or the world has made for content online. For example, going to the whole pedophile issue, you can't post certain pictures. You can't post certain videos. And, in fact, you can't do those actions in the first place. But, nonetheless, you can't post how to build a bomb. Or you can't post, how to break into Fort Knox. And there's all sorts of things you can't post on the computer if it's on the internet at all, even if it's super duper hidden. If the government finds it, you're screwed because it's not a thing you're supposed to do. If you want it, I guess, if you want to create it and have it on your computer, then don't put it online and don't have that computer be online at all. Then whatever you do on it is yours and nobody... Well, if it is illegal and you're caught with it, then you're screwed. So, this idea that you can do what you want to do isn't really true. It really isn't. If you're doing something illegal in your own home, it's still illegal. It doesn't matter that it's on your own time and your private space and all that. It's still illegal, and if you're caught doing it, you're going to jail. By Matt Slick's own argument here, I would have to think that it's okay to do anything illegal as long as it's on my own time, right? And it's just that's not how it really is. The great analogy I would go to is that the people who were promoting weed, pot, to be okay, to be legal, would more often than not be using it in their homes, and they would use this defense. Well, it's my house. I can do whatever I want in it. No, you can't. It's illegal. And I always felt, and I still do, that they were going about it the wrong way. If you want to be able to use this stuff, don't break the law. You've got to go fight the law. And then once the law is changed, then you can do it. Because you've got to show that you're an upstanding citizen that is law-abiding, so that they'll take you seriously. But that's just my view on that. But at any rate, no to this last example. And then, here we go, last little sentence and I'm done here. These brief examples are evidence enough that it's necessary to write about homosexuality and to try to deal, if only a little, with its intrusion into all areas of society. We need to be made aware of what is happening, and hopefully we need to be able to answer the pro-homosexual movement. Wow. Finally, we're done with that. Okay, so Mike is up next. Actually, he said call him Mick or Bill, but I can't pronounce MacLachlan's name, and that's a running gag now. So, but he's cool with that. Any rate, so he will be up next, telling us about the definitions, and look forward to that on his channel. Link will be on this screen if you click it. And if you're watching the playlist, it will go automatically to that video.